Hi, my name is Rachit Mohan and I run the data center business at JLL for Asia Pacific region. I'm very excited about the panel today. We've got a very exciting group of panelists today. We've got to start with on my left we've got Dr. Jidesh Chaudhary, who comes from CDAC and he's the center head for the Guwahati cell. And this is the center of the universe when it comes to all the innovation and research which is happening on the high performance compute side in India right now, and a lot of sovereign initiatives around chip design which is happening over there. So Jideshji, thank you so much for joining us. We've got Salim, who joins us from Submer, and he runs the design and build capability in Submer for their data center division, and comes with extensive experience in data centers. Used to work with multiple data center operators earlier, and especially on the design side. And again, I've had experience of doing some very strategic projects which have been designed by Sunny Pai. Third is we've got the Amitabh Bachchan of our industry today. We've got Narendra Seth, who's the founder and CEO of Neat Cloud, and today he's also, we've seen the launch of the data center which is being done at the space. So very exciting to see the big the rocket right on top. And today's conversation is going to be about infrastructure for the future and those new frontiers which we are exploring around infrastructure. And it'll be very interesting to hear. Narendra, we'll start with you. How about just start with giving us a little bit of a background about yourself and what is this about? I mean, can you tell us about the rocket? I mean, where is this rocket from? Tell us about your partnership with Agnikul, and what are we doing with this data center? Why do we need a data center in the space?
Good. Very good question, and excited to be a part of this panel. I think the problem is the biggest problem in our industry is energy and deployment of the data center with the speed of AI adoption. So the AI has adoption happened like rocket speed, but the infrastructure is not getting developed at that speed, and that is missing, and that's stopping the momentum around AI and innovation. So we decided to catch up with that, and 2019 we had long discussion in IIT Madras campus with Agnikul founder Srinath and Moin. I sat with them that time and discussed about setting up data center in space. And but too early for the industry, too early for everything. But fast forward now, I think this is a time, and as AI has grown multifold and consume almost all the power exists, and it is going to consume that power. So we decided to let's start working on this mission. This partnership is like a long-term vision of our company to establish orbital inferencing delivery network. So AI does two things in training and inferencing. So we have started taking on the inferencing, which is the larger use case, and it is for the critical workload. We are prioritizing critical workload like border security. The people today we consume ChatGPT 200 miles away, 200 millisecond away, but this will be established in 300 kilometer away from the Earth, and the latency could be less than 10 millisecond, like around 6 millisecond. Anywhere in the world, the same latency with our constellation of 600 satellite will be deployed in another 3 years. And we decided let's ramp it up in phases. The first phase next year start. This year we'll do the test launch, but we'll keep adding the satellite in the space and keep serving our critical workload on the ground. I think this is the vision of the company. What is it required? The entire ecosystem is fairly available in the country. A lot of space companies, the space is open up for private industry, and a lot of innovators came together and built that ecosystem. So you'll get a pre-cooling free power, no permissions required, and that's
So
what
there's no permission required to take
you need one permission.
Yeah.
That's only one time you need permission, which is one permission. Fairly, government has a in-space department, and they are helping us out to get there. But with the partnership with Agnipool, and Agnipool is in the market from long time, so that is helping us.
That's fantastic. And so you're saying the cooling is because it's already so cold over there, you won't really require additional cooling. And what was very interesting was the inferencing that you spoke about, and we'll come back to you on this inferencing part. We're gonna go to another very intelligent person. We've got Dr. Jitesh over here. Dr. Jitesh, we spoke about inferencing layer being developed over here. Can you give us a little bit of an idea as to what is happening on chip development? What is CDAC doing on innovation to bring newer GPUs and new compute into the country?
Yeah, thank you, Rachit, for asking such a relevant question, because the entire industry in the data center or even in the AI space, we are talking good amount about application and data center. But a critical component of this entire ecosystem is your chip, motherboards, hardware, and still, as a country, we are highly dependent on our Western friends. And whenever there is a strategic policy change in the Western world, suddenly our AI mission has been at the halt. And to counter that, government has proactively investing a huge amount of money in ensuring the non-interrupted supply of even the hardware. So right from the chip to the components and to the motherboards and the entire the HPC ecosystem or the data center ecosystem. So under the many development missions through our Ministry of Electronics and IT, we are in process of developing many microcontroller, microprocessors, dual core, quad core, including the HPC class servers. In fact, couple of things are already in market, but because of the less publicity, most of our people don't know. So we have a Rudra 1, 2 and 3 series, which is the HPC class servers, which is already available on the open market for the procurement. And but the thing is, again, the technology is rapidly changing, and we are still catching up with that. So soon we are going to have even the chips coming from the CDAC for this ecosystem. So we are expecting a timeline of around somewhere in 27. We are going to have a first HPC class controller. Although we have embedded class controllers already there in the market from the last 2-3 years, but those are not for the data centers. Those are for the small embedded class applications.
This is very interesting, and I wasn't aware that Indian government with its CDAX initiative sitting under Ministry of Information Technology is investing so much of autonomous research to bring new age chips. What is going to be the use case of some of these kind of chips, and especially high performance compute that is going to come in? Is this going to be only for defense use and government use, or are we also going to see this coming into private market? Are banks, financial ecosystems and all also going to use this?
Absolutely everything. Once a chip has been made, whether you use in a strategic sector or whether you use in your microwave oven, the functionality will remain the same, depends upon your use case. Only thing, the class will change. Obviously, the chip which goes in space will have a highly more quality oriented parameters to get evaluated while the manufacturing compared to a commercial class chips. So the functionality will remain the same, and it is available for the common man and for our industry to use for their different applications, not only just for the HPC.
Wow. So this is very interesting, and there's going to be a market launch which would happen for this kind of a product.
So we have already 2 embedded class controllers already in the market. In fact, from the IIT Chennai also there is one. So these are the indigenously designed controllers and processors which has already our students and the academy is using for their application development. So in that journey and in that roadmap only, the new chips will keep coming. And now the India is already launched on the semiconductor global roadmap. So we are there. We started our journey, and soon you will see the competitive ICs coming out of the India.
Got it. Salim, coming to you now, what are you seeing? What are the new technologies? I mean, we're looking at Government of India with CDAC coming out with all these initiatives. We are seeing Narendra going into the space I mean, we haven't been able to send a man in space, but we're definitely sending a data center in space, so inspiring. What are you seeing? What is happening in reality? What is happening in the design space? And tell us a little bit more about the 1 gigawatt data center you announced in MP recently, please.
Thank you, Manchip. And I'm happy to know that we have got this all inside information. Interesting. So I think you have touched a very interesting question here, what we're doing in this field. And before answering your question, I would like to highlight few things here. Now, India almost producing 20% of our data worldwide. And we don't have enough capacity to store that data. We have got around 3% of the data center which we have got that more sufficient to store those data. So that means we lack the infrastructure capacity to store those old data, to process the data. And here the biggest point is basically life to market is what we are looking at. Now, if you see a typical construction type of data center, if you talk about 100 plus megawatt, easily goes into 2 years. Looking after the supply chain, then the availability of component, generator, chillers, everything. So what we are bringing into market is basically a modular approach. Now you talk about the 100 plus megawatt data center, one building that required easily more than 120 number of the power modules and chillers. So many components goes into it. So we are, as a summer, coming up with a modular approach. So here basically we have got a complete module in which we got all transformers, panel, switchboard, battery, UPS built into a module, probably a container shape that will just bring, plug in and start your complete installation. So that basically we are trying to reduce the speed of construction between the 9 to 12 months. That is what we are bringing new into the this segment.
That's amazing. So you're saying in 9 to 12 months, a full data center can be built and delivered?
Yes. So here basically we are talking about the complete construction by using the prefabricated steel. So it will be within 3 to 4 months your building will live. By the time you go upward, adding the floor, the modules will get into the building and it will be like just incoming power supply, you get the outgoing power supply. You don't need to do this all internal juggling.
And what is the scale that we're talking about? I mean, this modular data center, which is going to be available in 9 months, what is the size? I mean, this is 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt or 50 megawatts?
I'm talking about the 100 plus megawatt building. So here, if you talk about 100 plus megawatt building, imagine the transformers required around 2500 kVA, probably more than 130 numbers. You can't play individually with everyone. So we have got this kind of module, just plug in and start your...
And how does that compare in terms of cost to a traditional civil data center build and bringing in and assembling of the entire bus bar and everything outside?
I think you touched a very right question. Here, before getting into the cost, I will just try to explain the complexity. Here, you go with a traditional approach, you bring each and every element, connect together, but where is the responsibility? If something goes wrong, you will keep blaming this, that guy. So here, basically, we bring a complete end-to-end solution, and we are trying to optimize the cost in such a way that because we're going to have a bulk quantity purchase. So we will be as compatible as with the traditional method. That is what we're trying right now.
That's amazing, Salim bhai. This is very, very impressive. And I'm sure there are so many projects which are 1 gigawatt plus data center clusters which are getting announced. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of excitement for a product like yours coming in. I'm going to come back to Narendra. Narendraji, you spoke about inferencing, and you spoke about what 0.6 millisecond. 0.6 millisecond. Did you say millisecond latency, and you are able to give inferencing? This is, I mean, it sounds like a very, very ambitious thing. Can you break down on the technology? How is the transmission working? Where is the ground station? Do we need a ground station, or are you piggybacking on Project Leo or Starlink? How does this happen?
Okay, so when we go from Delhi to Mumbai, like almost it takes 15 milliseconds to send the data, because every 100 mile is equal to 1 millisecond. That's how the data transfer and how we count the latency. 100 miles is equal to 1 millisecond. So we are sending the rocket in 200 miles, right? So it's technically 2 milliseconds sending the data and receiving the data. So total is 4 milliseconds. But we are considering some internal, latency gap. So it's below 10 milliseconds, which is far better than today if you transport data from Delhi to Mumbai or Mumbai to Indore or anywhere in the country. So you will find the less than 6 millisecond across the world unilateral latency, because all the constellation will be connected with each other. And every data center in space will have some visibility time in the particular range and area. And that's how we consider and count. Now coming back to the question that technically how many people will get the inferencing, what kind of workload it is going to be run. So all the workload we initially plan for a critical workload, which is like in unmanned vehicles or drones or border security area or a remote part of the country where the connectivity is issue and the compute is issue. The connectivity, SpaceX has a Starlink. The connectivity is already there, right? But connectivity doesn't have a compute. What we are doing, we are sending compute in the orbit, and real time we are doing the inferencing. So a lot of critical workload, when you go in front of like a Digi Yatra, immediately gateway opens. This will consume less than 5 millisecond kind of workload. So these kind of, you don't need to set up multiple of it near to user. You can consider this orbital edge AI inferencing network.
So all these large, and one thing that we are all following very, very closely is the India AI mission, and they've got a beautiful booth over here. And, there was the 10,000 crore mission, which is now expanded. And we're seeing all these lovely startups, be it Sarvam AI, Gyan AI. There's so many which are coming out, and they are getting subsidized by the government with GPU chips for training very, very forward-looking models. Are those going to be your customers for their inferencing? Is there an India AI mission? Is this a part of India AI mission? How does this play out?
A realistic approach is India AI really enable and democratize AI in the country today. 2 years back when Sam Altman came to India, we said, no, India is not able to build a foundation model. Now look at, we have 12 companies. So the platform and the ecosystem is developed by India AI. So all credit goes to them because they enable low cost compute, and that's how we innovate. Our project is like the India AI we are supporting from our ground data centers, AI factories, which we are building in the tier 2 cities. But this Raipur, Mumbai, and Indore, and coming soon one more state. But these sites are supporting India AI. Now talking about those foundation model, yes, those foundation model will sit on our AI super cloud, and our AI super cloud is not only serving from our AI factories in India, but it will also serve from the various kind of demand, like which is not, some demand are non-critical, some demand are critical. So critical demand will be served through the inferencing, orbital inferencing delivery network. Not every demand will serve from there because there is a limitation at this point of time to serve. Like you can't build 100 megawatt data center. Elon Musk claim he can build definitely. We need more time to build and prove ourselves, but we can definitely build a lower inferencing delivery network which can not consume more than 100 kilowatt to 500 kilowatt. So technically it's you treat this as a edge sites, which technically we need to build 24 months. It can develop and deliver in 3 months and 6 months.
And this is going to be a network of 600 such.
Yes.
I have another fundamental question.
Yes.
So these are satellites, 600 satellites which have compute, or these are 600 data centers which also act like satellites?
Okay. Okay, good question. So this side is the combination of satellite and the upper cap of the Agnikul, Agni band. This will be stay in the space, and both the companies Agnikul and we decided let's utilize it. The inside payload will be ours, which is carrying the chips and other energy related equipment. But both the flap will be started using as a one unit. And we'll send this unit for 5 years. in lower Earth
Or
orbit.
it will be a satellite.
It is a satellite, but we call it data center in space. Easy to remember, easy to understand. Yeah. Satellite which has a data center.
Got it. Got it. So similar to OneWeb or a Project Leo or any of these.
Yes, absolutely. We are, and the big thing is India has enough ecosystem now, as I mentioned. So we will be at least 20 to 30% affordable than the global players, and that's the beauty of Indian ecosystem. That because Agnikul can carry cheaper like cost than the even ISRO.
Yeah, we've already seen Skyroot and the ISRO doing some of the OneWeb deliveries as well. Haven't
Right? Like look at that. Those space companies and this startup has come up with very well and really optimize the end-to-end infrastructure. And that's easy for companies like us to leverage and get benefit and serve our customer demand.
This is a great moment in research and development. I mean, while having this conversation, I actually feel like I'm sitting in an episode of Rocket Boys with Baba, Homi Baba and Vikram Sarabhai. So moving from Vikram Sarabhai and all the space research, coming to our Homi, our own Homi Baba, so we were talking about, of course, we've talked about compute and all the research at the chip level which is happening, but we also spoke about nuclear research, and a large part of your career in the past has been in the instrumentation side on nuclear power plants, and we had a lot of very interesting conversations around small modular reactors. Incidentally, Narendra and I, we were working on solutioning for power infrastructure for a very large data center campus that we were planning some time back. Can you give a little bit of a view on what's happening on the nuclear power side, and how small modular reactors are going to come out? Is it true? Is it already there? Can we enhance power infrastructure with that? What is happening, sir?
Yeah, exactly. So very nice question in sense, because whenever we talk about critical infrastructure, data centers, or any technology development, the first bottleneck as a developing country which we face is the power. And that is where Narendra ji is trying to solve by sending this data center into this space. And the alternate of this method is nuclear power. Because now at the globally, many countries and including the companies also highly focusing on developing the SMR solutions for powering their data center, because a very small quantity of nuclear fuel can run your data center for many months together. And to match the frequency of the global players, the government of India has recently launched the SMR mission, where they are investing a huge amount of money in developing smaller modular reactors. So generally, whenever we say the modular nuclear power plants, we will have a picture of big booms and a big campus. And you just imagine the great scientists of our country. And I want to especially thank the entire DE, because that is the one department which has never get supported by the Western world. In any other technology, you have the support. But for this particular in nuclear sector, we are always restricted, and they able to achieve good success in the nuclear sector. To continue that, they are coming up with this SMR, and by seeing that, now many big players like Reliance and other players are also getting interested. So for data center, SMR is going to be a big game changer. Whoever comes first with the SMR, they are going to, at least a good amount of their problem with the power is going to get solved. And once the power solved, you are suddenly reducing the entire cost economics of your data center.
And not just economics. I mean, one of the, these large AI clusters and training clusters that we are building nowadays, there's so many gigawatt scale data center clusters which are getting built. One of the things that we are constantly, especially restricted by network infrastructure, the power of any supercomputer is a factor of how large that supercomputer can become. So can I make a 1 gigawatt data center? Can I make it 2 gigawatt? Can I take it to 3 gigawatt? We've already seen Meta announcing a 5 gigawatt cluster that they are building with a microgrid in Louisiana, right? And we are going to see those kind of ambitious projects coming up. Those cannot be done without, and the power grids cannot take it. So how are you able to give those solutions? Either you're giving a nuclear power generation on site or small modular reactor, enhancing the power. Those are very interesting.
Basically, SMR is a very simple concept of powering at your site. It's like setting up a small power plant at your place in a secured environment so that you will get a power at your doorstep. Instead of you have a power plant outside and you are taking the power from there and operating. So the whole idea is, again, you will have a multiple layers into that. You may come up with a slightly bigger SMRs in the initial stage. Then as the technology grows, the miniaturization will take place. And the day will come when you may have the SMRs in your vehicles also, because that is also another area of research which is happening at certain points.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you, Dr. Jitesh. This is very helpful, sir. So we covered the Vikram Sarabhai and the Homi Baba part, and coming Salim. I'm looking at you as the Abdul Kalam over here, who actually executed a lot of these, both on the space as well as the nuclear side for the nation. Can you tell us a little bit more on the execution part, right? And what are you doing in MP, this 1 gigawatt data center? Can you tell us a little bit more and go a little detail on the nuts and bolts of the execution, how these fully modular data centers are going to work out?
I will start with the nuclear power plant. I think we have touched a very interesting topic. And in 2020, I did one research where I have been asked how we can get rid of generator. So here basically what we did, we have done a research and we got to know that India has a civil nuclear power agreement and we can use a nuclear power plant for the private player. But the problem is basically the cost. So here India has got 300 megawatt reactor designed by us. I think India, China, France, US, probably UK. They have got this small 300 megawatt reactor. And if we could able to come up with the some agreement where the NTPC does complete monitoring, installation, and private player do the financing. If you have 2 megawatt nuclear power plant next to a data center campus, imagine the efficiency, imagine the cost. You have got generator is completely gone, and you have got green power available to a campus. And imagine the complexity is going to reduce drastically. So very good topic you have touched. Now coming to the infrastructure, as you are aware, we have worked on couple of projects. The kind of stress we are putting on the supply chain in terms of the timeline, and the biggest thing is right now the Jensen, he has some chip, and by the 2-3 years he come up with another chip. So imagine the stress on the guys who are doing the complete installation. So here the power, cooling, building, and completing the buffing in terms of fit out is a great stress you have to manage. The quality of manpower is the biggest problem. In country where we have got the ample engineers, but getting the right talent to design a data center to its mega scale is very difficult. We are struggling with the right manpower, then the right contractors. And luckily, I think we are a good phase where we got a complete ecosystem established. Apart from generator and the chillers, I think we have got everything in the house, which we can source with a fraction of cost. Basically, if you see the cost here is basically almost like we are talking about $4 million per megawatt, and we just go to Middle East is around $9 to $10 million per megawatt. So we have clear advantage.
That's amazing, Salim bhai. Thank you so much. This is very, very helpful. That with that we are coming closer to the end of the clock. With that, I'd like to ask one question from all three of you. If each one of you can answer one thing, one ambitious, futuristic thing if you have an ambition for India's infrastructure, AI infrastructure and science for the future, what would that one thing be? Narendraji, we'll start with you.
One thing is saying very difficult because we have to build everything. Right? The chip is very critical. Chip need energy. That is another critical part. The financing is another part. We have talent, a good talent in the country. We can see that. But the missing part was a capital. And some policies has to be open. And the government started solving that problem. So I think in coming 5 years, what I can say that India will have complete end-to-end AI infrastructure control, including chips, in our hand. So we'll not rely on any foreign company, and nobody can control. As data is oil refineries will be ours. The oil generated energy, that intelligence will be ours, and that those chips will be ours. So nobody can controls. Huh?
Oil fields will also be.
Yes. So oil fields will be ours. So that's what we need to do. 100%. I think things are shocking. Yes. Thank you.
Salim.
One of the challenge which I am facing at the moment is a talent. I think we have got a STPI stall here as well. So government can start some initiative where the college and the institute can be engaged to train them on a data center infrastructure. So that will go into basically the need of time.
Thank you, Salim. Dr. Jitesh, once again, coming from you, one ambitious thing for science and tech for India.
So whenever it comes to technology, we always consider as a consumer economy. India is never being considered as a tech product producer. And it is my wish that during my lifetime, India should be tagged as a tech product nation, producer nation, rather than a tech product consumer nation.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for that.
One thing which you want to see in another 5 years, or you believe that it should be.
I think India, given the economic boom which is coming up in the next 5 to 10 years, which is going to happen in this country, which we are going to see in form of a GDP growth, is going to be enabled not just by workforce, but a lot of skilled workforce, vocational workforce, a lot of intelligence and AI, which is going to all get clubbed over here. I foresee that, and call me a sci-fi buff, but I think humanity is going to achieve singularity with technology and AI right here in India, given this is going to be the convergence of inferencing of actual AI. That's what I feel. Thank you.